Right, what's going on? I got my friend Cassandra on today. Recently met at a brand builders event down in Nashville. So what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me today.
Of course. Love connecting with other brand builders and sharing stories and kind of seeing what kind of value you can provide to the audience. With that
Yes.
being said, want to share a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you help?
Yeah. So I have been a career coach. My side hustle started as being a career coach, and I am now slowly transitioning into doing more organizational training based around workplace communication for engagement and retention of employees. But side hustled for 3 years in my business before taking it full time. And since then have flip flopped. I think there are seasons for everything. So there are times where I was full time in my business and times where I went back to side hustle status for odd, probably not typical reasons, but yeah, I think there's a season for everything. So I've done both, and I very much enjoyed the side hustle season of a business. So I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, I love that too because I totally agree with you that there are different seasons for everything, and bouncing in and out of side hustle, main focus, etc. I guess that's just part of the entrepreneurial journey, I guess, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, would you like to share a little bit on how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. So I actually, let me think of how I want to start this. I started career coaching because I knew when I got a full time job in career coaching at a college that I actually would want to do it as a business too. So I'm going to go way back to like 2012, 2013, when the word brand became really popular and everyone was all of a sudden calling themselves an expert without any experience. I knew I couldn't do that. I knew it wasn't in me to do things that way. And so I knew I wanted to do career coaching. I'd read every career guide under the sun. I was fascinated by resumes and interview psychology more than my friends. And so I I decided to go get my master's in higher education because what does every college have? A career center. And so I sort of did things backwards, but I see it as like that was my educational time. I got my master's and got my feet under me being a career coach at a state university in California. And then after a year, started my own career coaching business on the side. I
Mm.
am lucky. I don't know if other people have brought this up, but like I am lucky that I worked in an environment where side hustling wasn't an insane idea or a taboo idea. And especially wanting to do um, the exact same thing as what was done in my full time job is sometimes, obviously an issue in certain places. But for where I worked, I was able to be very transparent and let them know before I even started my business, hey, I'm going to career coach people outside of the university as well. Um, is that okay? Don't want to lose the full time job. They were fine with it. And so so I sort of started in a different way, I think, than most.
Mhm.
I will say the first year of business, I almost don't count because I built a website and then very much was like, well, wait, if you build it, they won't come. What in the world? And so had to go back and learn all the marketing aspects. Started a YouTube channel as my main lead generation source. Um, and that took about a year to really get traction on. But that to this day has been my main lead generator. It has over 100,000 subs now, over 9 million views. And so that's how most people get to know me. Um, and then now do interview coaching, career coaching, and online courses. And I'm now doing more speaking. That
Nice.
was a very long answer for you. I'm so sorry if that
No,
was
that
like
was
way
great.
too much.
That was awesome. That helped a lot. Yeah, and it's interesting because I knew you've seen a lot of success with YouTube. Did you know that that's where you wanted to go with that, or were you just kind of like, okay, I'm going to kind of just go and see how this turns out?
I didn't know immediately, but I knew pretty quickly. I actually have a whole separate talk I give on YouTube because of this, because In 2018-19, when I really got serious about this, I everyone was promoting Instagram. Everybody was promoting Instagram as the place to get leads, at least to me. At least those were the advertisements I was getting in my feeds. And this was that time period on Instagram where it was like, if you don't post on Mondays at 8:07 a.m. with the right 20 hashtags that has the right color scheme that matches the flow of the rest of your grid, because God forbid it not match the grid, like you shouldn't have posted at all. So I think I tried that for about a week and was so exhausted being like, and so defeated of, wait, did this work? Um, it just felt exhausting to me. Whereas I started watching a lot of YouTube around that time, and I have a background in television. At one point, I wanted to be a television host. And I started watching people do this and went, this is a lot easier. For me, I think everyone should do the platform that fits their personality. But for me, that didn't seem as scary. I will say I had no editing experience. I mean, literally zero. I used iMovie when I got started and used tutorials off YouTube to start. Um, but it seemed the easiest to use. And then the thing that got me to choose, the thing that made me go, oh, I'm all in on YouTube and none of this other stuff, is YouTube is a search platform. So I truly believe everyone should be using something that is a search platform as their main foundation. So that should be YouTube, Pinterest. I think podcasts, depending on your area, because your episodes can be searched. I think one of those has to be the foundational marketing effort. And then something like an Instagram, a LinkedIn, a Facebook is more your promotional of where they come back to. But to me, it was that idea of, okay, I can put all this time into an Instagram post or insert Facebook, etc. Like I can put all that time into a post and it might die immediately or it might die in 24 hours, or I can make one YouTube video and people still find it years later. And so I have a video that I believe right now has 1.9 million views, and I made it 4 years ago. And it didn't even hit 1,000 until 6 months into it being posted. So like it
Wow.
looked like a failure in the beginning, and then one day it popped off. So that's why I'm like, I think YouTube is the platform that everyone needs to be on.
That's crazy. So how does that happen? How did it like generate so many views down the road?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think it started to take off in search. I do think there are certain things of the algorithms, not algorithm, but the many of them, like working together to go, oh, this video, the people who are watching this video care about this video. It got put in somebody else's suggested, another popular career coach. This video, for some reason, ended up in her suggested column on the right-hand side. But to me, the key of why it worked is because now I make one video a week. Then I think I was making two a week. I was making 2 videos a week, no matter what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put a video out and it didn't matter how it did. It was, you were committed to making another video in 3 days. You're
Mm-hmm.
committed, because that's what really took off. Was I made the one video, and when it took off over 6 months later, it carried all my other videos with it. And so it's like, you have to keep, that is the key with YouTube, is like, you have to keep going no matter how few people watch that video on the first day or in the first week. Like you have to put out another video the next week.
Yeah, so consistency being the top
The
priority
key.
here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that a lot with many other platforms. At least that's what everybody says, is making sure that you're continuously producing content, but it can't just be garbage content. So it actually has
No,
to be valuable too. So
of course. Yes. And I will say that was something too. It's funny. It did prove me right, but it just didn't do it in the timing I thought. That video went with like a very common YouTube strategy that's a little bit harder to figure out now because there's so much content out there. But it comes from a strategy of, what's the question people have that's not being answered in your space? And so in my space, in the career coaching space at the time, nobody was answering the question, well, what questions do you as the candidate ask at the end of the interview?
Mm.
And so I made a video around that topic. So filling that niche. And so because of that, I think that is another reason why that took off over my how to answer tell me about yourself or how to answer anything. It answered a question, it provided value, but it answered a question that nobody else at that time was answering. Um so the theory did work. It just worked like 200 days later than people said it would.
Now, do you think your success in YouTube is because of that one video, or would you say it is because of the consistency of plugging in all the other videos? Because my guess is that everyone was drawn in from that one initial one, but because you had all the other content already readily available, that other people started viewing more of your stuff.
Yes, I would say consistency is number one. Like that particular video, which I'm fully aware right now how many times I've said the word video. It's starting to sound weird. That particular one did have like a sweet spot trick in it
Mm.
that people really held on to, and it was branded for a couple of years that you could go, I'm sure you still could, but it wouldn't come up as high. Like you could go on YouTube and you would put in Cass Thompson and up in suggested would pop hard question because there's something in that specific YouTube video where I talk about a hard question you can ask.
Mm.
And people would come back and be like, I asked it and I got the job, like thousands of people. But I do. So while I do think it had a little quirk to it, that wouldn't keep longevity. What keeps longevity is what you're saying is it was consistency. And so people watch that video and would go, okay, wow, I think she knows some stuff. And then in the suggested column, because I kept making videos every week, are my other ones like how to answer, tell me about a time when, how to answer, why are you interested or what's your greatest weakness? And so people would then click on those next. And so it is the like a rising tide lifts all boats. Like
Mm.
it brought everything up because they would binge. They would go to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah, sounds like a perfect example too of just putting in the grind work,
Yeah.
making the content and just kind of going forward with that. I do want to ask you a little bit about the career coaching. How does that work with your clients? Do you work with just kids right out of college, or is it can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, I tend to work with people that are in career transition or career change. I'm not against working. I love new grads. I'm not against working with new professionals, young professionals. But for some reason, a lot of the people who come to me are people who are probably at management now going for VP level or like trying to make that promotion or they're making a career change. Um, and the majority of my coaching is interview coaching. So while I do general career coaching of helping people put together a strategy of like, who do I go talk to and how should my resume look? Interview coaching is sort of my sweet spot. And so
Mhm.
I do a lot of practice interviews, which is great because I like the one thing I say all the time is never let the first time you say those words be in the room for the interview. You think you know it in your head, you fumble. So what happens is one thing I do that other interview coaches don't tend to do from what I've seen is I customize your interview question set to you so it's not like you're signing up for a practice interview and we do the most common interview question. You send me, this is my resume, this is the job I'm going for or the type of job I want, this is the type of company or industry I'm looking at, and I do all the research and find the questions that you're most likely to be asked, and then we get on Zoom and for a half hour, I ask you the questions and we treat it like the real interview. And then for the back half, I give you feedback. We talk about like what's strong, what you should emphasize more, what you could work on, what you could be stronger on, etc. And so
Mm.
people come away feeling like I think there's a lot of comfort in knowing what to do next. I think in the job search a lot, it's a lot of feeling like am I making the right move? I mean, in business too, it feels this way too. But in this situation, I think it's a lot of, am I making the right move? Is this what I should like? Did I say the right thing? And so I think there's a lot of comfort in getting that out with somebody ahead of time and learning, oh, okay, I did these things really well. And even in the things that they might need to work on, it, I think a lot find comfort and confidence in hearing, oh, okay, I get now why I need to change my answer to this thing or why I need to tweak for more specificity. It's not like, God, I've been doing it all wrong. It's, oh, thank God I didn't say that then. I learned it now and now I can make it even stronger. And so that's sort of the sweet spot on the career coaching side.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, how many times do you typically do these mock interviews with your clients? Because I would imagine if you do it multiple times, you're just going to get better and better at doing it, right? At the interview process.
Yeah, it depends. I would say 3 is a good sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 is a good sweet spot. Some people only do 1 solely because they got the interview call, like they know they're interviewing on Thursday and it's Monday and they're going, can I get one in with you? Like, let me just do something. So there are a lot of one-off ones, but
Mm-hmm.
the people who know, like, I don't think this is my strong suit because there is an art to interviewing. They will tend to do 2 to 3. And I actually have like a 3, like you get a cut. You get a discount if you do a 3 package.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so when you meet with somebody, when a potential client for the first time, can you immediately detect and tell like, okay, yeah, this person is probably pretty strong with the interview process, or do you also run into people like, wow, this person is gonna need a lot of work, kind of thing?
I can tell within, I mean, it's very similar to an actual interview. I can tell within the first 30 seconds. Now, I don't tell them that, but you can, a lot of it comes down to practice. And it's not, and so that's why when I say I can tell, it's not that they're bad. It's not like it's not that they themselves are inherently terrible at this. It's not that. It's, shoot, I can tell you didn't practice. And if you had just worked on an answer to tell me about yourself and worked on why you want to work at this company for like 20 minutes before getting on this call, it would be stronger for you, you know? And so that's where it comes from. It's not like, um, there are definitely people who just have higher communication levels than others, right? But
Hmm.
overall, it's more of, in that first answer or two, I can see, okay, this person really prepared already and is bringing their A game, or okay, this person didn't prepare or doesn't quite understand, like, not to sound like a TikTok, but like doesn't understand the assignment. Like they just need some help even understanding the why behind what they're doing.
Okay, cool. So if I'm hearing everything correctly,
Yeah.
so far some major keys to succeeding in being interviewed and pretty much communication skills in general. One, hiring somebody so you can gain the knowledge of understanding what it is expected, essentially. And
Yeah.
2, practicing, making sure that you practice the communicating and knowing who you are as yourself, and the awareness.
Yes.
Got any other kind of tips that you could just share real quick on how someone can improve their communication and interview skills?
I think what you said on that second point, it does go to other areas, right? Like the practice part, it sounds so cheesy and we all think we're not being authentic if we practice before meeting people, right? Like we sound rehearsed, but you don't. And so I would say that's something that it's not just for interviewing, it's for anything, is like before you go to, because this goes for all business owners, like before you go to a networking event or a conference or anything, practice your freaking intro. Like practice saying who you are. I worked in casting for 6 years. It is shocking how many people cannot answer, so tell me about you, tell me about yourself. Like if you don't practice it, you stumble. And so don't be afraid to. I have before conferences sat in my hotel room and like paced back and forth as I try to get out a sentence or two of who I am so that I don't stumble over it in the room. You don't want to like screw it. Sounds so cheesy and so nerdy, but it is helpful because I'm sure we have all also been in this situation where you've been in an event or like a dinner even, and you're sitting next to somebody you haven't met, and you say, so tell me about you, tell me about your business. And they're like, they give you their life story. You know what I mean? Like they give you every step along the way that they took for their business. And you go, okay, it's been 10 minutes. Like I just needed to. So
Yeah.
practice, I think, is huge no matter what for any kind of interview, any kind of intro, anything where you have to talk about yourself. Think through that part. And then the other thing that I think matters to interviews that I think also goes for anyone is genuine passion shines through. Like this is something that's been really fun to see with my interview clients is when I ask, so why do you want to work here? Or why do you want to do this title? Right?
Hmm.
When they truly want it, their eyes light up before they start answering. Like it is shocking how much that nonverbal communication of passion is just innately there when you actually want something. And so it is so fun to watch them. Like they will sit there nervous and tense for questions and they'll say, so why do you want to work here? And their eyes will, if you remember America's Next Step Model, they'll literally smize. Like their eyes will widen and they smile and they get into what they're saying. And I think that's something that's important for interviews, but also for anything is remembering like come with that passion because enthusiasm is contagious and like that will draw other people in. So for a job interview, people want to work with people who want to work there. So show that natural passion. But even just in business in general, like don't be afraid to sound excited about whatever you're working on because other people catch that too.
Mm. Yeah, I love that because I feel like because I go to a bunch of networking events, and I'm sure you go to a zillion, and I feel like I'm always there, and I always meet one or two people who they just are there because they kind of have to be there, but they don't really care about anything, and you can just totally pick up that vibe. And at the same
Yeah.
time, it's so funny too because going back to practicing everything about yourself that you want to say people I feel like I know myself better than anybody else in the world, but then at the same time if you ask me about myself I catch up. I'm like I don't know because I think I'm always trying to think of like, okay, what is it that they want to hear that's important from me, kind of getting wrapped up. So I totally agree with you in practicing out everything
Yeah.
that you got to say.
Well, and that's why, okay, so if we can go on that a little deeper for a second.
Sure.
Because yes, it feels like it's overwhelming. You think, oh, it's so easy to answer. So tell me about you. Hey, who are you? You're like, well, I am however many years old. I've had so many days on this earth. What two sentences worth do I pick out to tell you, right? So it's like, of course we're overwhelmed. So think of it ahead of time. And then with that, and it can change based off where you're going to go. Um, if I'm meeting someone for coffee, that could be a referral for like corporate speaking. I'm thinking of different things I want to highlight for them than the person that I'm getting on a call with to be their career coach, right?
Mm.
Uh, the other thing I would say is I hate elevator pitches. Okay. Elevator pitches were made for businesses, not for people. Like Shark Tank and them being like, hi, sharks, this is that's what an elevator pitch is for. It's a quick version of your business. When people teach elevator pitches, they're essentially teaching people, like, hey, I want you to talk at somebody for 90 seconds. And that is torture for both parties. And so instead, what I suggest is, practice ahead of time what that 1 to 2 sentence version of you is. Like mine would be what I said earlier of I'm a career coach and I'm currently taking what I've learned there and transitioning it into corporate training. I might add a sentence on I'm really focused on teaching people how to build authentic relationships for employee engagement and retention because we're living in a more isolated world. Like that would be my 1 to 2 sentences. That also gives people something to ask questions about or to resonate with and go, you're right. Like we are so much more isolated now, right? People can talk about something. The
Hmm.
other thing you want to do though is instead of that 90-second pitch, is think through like, what are 3 things that you would like to bring up, but you can't bring up in the first sentence, you know? And what's shocking is because you thought of those things before you went, they're top of mind, and you will find a way to work them in conversations that are not creepy. Like
Hmm.
it will come around to those things, or there's more likelihood of it coming up because you thought about it and it's top of mind, so that you're not in the position that you were just talking about where you're going, well, I don't know, what do I want, right? It's the same as you should think ahead of time, like, what do I want help on? Because that's a question that I think a lot of us miss out on. Is people, it's very common now, people are taught that when you meet somebody you should say, so what are you working on, what do you need help on? And if we haven't thought ahead of time, it's like the tell me about yourself question. We go, oh, and then you've missed an opportunity where someone could refer you to somebody, where somebody could be your next sale, etc. So yes, on top of like practicing your intro ahead, think about those 3 things that you'd probably want to share in this instance that maybe can't be the first thing you share, just so it's at the forethought of your head,
Hmm.
in instead of like in the murkiness of everything you've ever done in your whole life.
Yeah, I love that because that takes what I've recently been told like a step further. So I was talking
Okay.
with a friend and they were kind of sharing with me and they're saying, dude, whenever you go to a conference, you go to a networking event, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, make sure that it's intentional. So don't just go to a networking event just to go to a networking event. If you want to go to meet 3, 5, 10, 15 people, whatever it is, go with that in mind. So then you have that running in the back of your mind. Okay, yeah, I've met one person. I'm here to make 2 genuine connections. So then it's instilled in your head there. And I love the way that you have that as the additional, what else do I need? What else am I thinking about? So then it's working in the back of your head while you're going through with these different events. So I love
Yeah.
that a lot.
Cool.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, I do want to be conscious and courteous of your time. I know
Yeah.
busy running around doing a lot of different things. So I would love to hear a little bit about what have you got going on right now. You got your coaching, you've got like conferences. I know you're looking to speak a little bit more. Share a little bit about what you got going on.
Yeah. So if people are looking for interview coaching help, I still do that. You can find it all on my website, cassthompson.com. And my YouTube channel is Cass Thompson Career Advice. I also, though, am starting to look at, this is something that if people need this, just like send me a comment on YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever. Uh, I'm looking at, do people want more help with this networking piece? I have done a lot of speaking on building authentic relationships, is what networking actually is. It doesn't have to be sleazy, but I think a lot of people are scared of approaching that. So if they would like coaching on that, I'm open to it. I just haven't done a lot of it. Um, so if people want that, let me know. And then yeah, I'm speaking to more corporations and looking at how to help them do more trainings around authentic relationship buildings, both internally with their teams and externally with their clients, for just, again, like I said, employee engagement, retention, and then increasing sales with those clients. So if anyone is looking for help in those areas with their teams, I would love to talk.
Awesome. And just throwing it out there, I can guarantee you people are looking for more of that networking coaching. I know
Okay.
I feel like networking it's essentially just dating. So it's always that little awkwardness. It's like you don't really you might feel confident, but there's always something going on. So
Yeah.
I'm the first one to sign up for whatever you got going on with that, and I'm sure a lot of other
Cool.
people would be too. So YouTube, website.
Yes.
Where else should people reach out to you, follow you? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm always happy to connect on LinkedIn. So I'm Cassandra Thompson on there, but if you do the linkedin.com/in/Cass Thompson, everything's Cass Thompson on there. Um, you can find me there. But yeah, cassthompson.com, Cass Thompson Career Advice, and then on LinkedIn. Happy to
Cool.
happy to chat.
Awesome. Perfect. And before I let you go, gotta boil it all down. You've
Yes.
experienced multiple different portions of the journey of entrepreneurship, different side hustles, and different things going on. If you were to wrap it all up and give your best piece of advice for surviving the side hustle, what would it be?
Yes, I think it goes with part of what we talked about today. As much as I'm on YouTube, I think people are the way to success, right? I believe in the definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And so preparation is everything you do in your business, but you can create opportunities with every person you meet. So make sure you're prioritizing every day on building authentic relationships, on meeting new people, because you never know who is going to lead to your biggest success.
Wow. Love that. Love that. And thanks for sharing a lot of the information you shared. And as soon as you get that networking thing squared away, let me know. I'm diving
I
in with
will.
that.
Okay.
And again, appreciate you so much for taking the time hopping on today. And I would love to have you back on. Possibly have a part two down the road or something.
Yeah. Love that.
Totally down for
I'm
that.
always up to chat.
Cool. Perfect. Sounds good. Again, thank you so much. And I will talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Peace, peace, peace.